36 years old. I had my first baby at the age of 29 and the second one when I was 31.
As a young girl, the fields were mine. We played hide and seek for
I use kibisato, which is between the refined sugar and brown sugar. Many of you asked, is there any sugar alternatives? I use honmirin and amazake as a substitution. Honmirin is made with the sticky rice, koji, which is a rice malt, and the rice shochu, which is an alcohol. Amazake is made with the rice malt, and water. Some mirin, especially the affordable one, does contain some sugar to resemble the taste to the high quality one. But the sweetness mostly came from the rice on the process of fermentation, which makes me feel good about using it. I'm such a simple-minded person. If you are someone who wants to totally omit the sugar, please check out the label before you buy. The level of sweetness is a lot milder than the refined sugar. Also, mirin does contain some alcohol, so I often use it in a cooked meal like teriyaki sauce, whereas amazake is some kind that doesn't contain any alcohol at all, which is perfect for making dressing. It does slightly have a unique smell though. I can show you how to make homemade amazake, but I just think it's too narrow topic to cover on this channel. If I got many comments saying you guys are interested in this, I'll make a video about that. To me, having a good knife is crucial. It changed my preparation time from chore to therapeutic moment. When I first moved out from my parents, I got a knife from Daiso, which is a 100 yen shop, which is $1. My dad came over to my place and saw that I'm using such a dull knife. He gave me the new knife as a birthday present. It was 5 years before he passed away. Ever since I got these knives, I have started to love cooking more and more. So these two knives are my most precious present I ever received. These two are from a small shop in my hometown, so they don't sell online. Another one is this beautiful vegetable knife, which I have been using for about 4 months now. I have been experimenting with it, whether I can recommend it to you guys or not, and I came to the conclusion that I can recommend you guys with confidence. It cuts everything like butter. If you guys are looking for the good quality of knife, please check out the website link in the description box below. First of all, thank you very much for the kind words. And surprisingly, this is the most frequently asked question. I used to have a serious eczema until I was 15. There were so many skincare products which didn't fit me, and for that reason, I can't recommend any of the products I use since I know each product brings you a different result. I can't be responsible for that. So instead, let me share 3 basic practices I do daily for my skin. The first one is eating variety of food, including seasonal vegetables. This is one of the reasons why my dishes are so colorful. Number 2, intentionally take fibers along with the fermented food to take care of my gut health. Do you guys know there are 2 kinds of fiber? One is soluble and the other one is insoluble. I try to take both kinds. It is extremely hard to explain in English, so I found a very comprehensive video on YouTube talking about the fiber, so please watch if this is something you are interested in. Number 3, sleep well. Super simple, but this is the most effective one, I think. I can't sleep straight overnight because of the kids, but I try to sleep between 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., which is known as a golden time for the body to recover. This is just what I follow, so might not be scientifically true, just as a disclaimer. Mushrooms and spicy food. Especially I love mushrooms, but my kids doesn't like the texture and I home puree them to have them eat. I also love spicy Asian food like mapo tofu, so I can't wait to share the same level of spiciness with my kids. Right now, I'm sprinkling some spices after serving it on the individual plate. Mayo dressing and couple Japanese fermented items like shoyu koji and shio koji are something I make by myself. I talk more about the Japanese fermented items in the previous video, so leaving the link for you in the description box again. I understand anything homemade is probably better since we can control what's in it, but I'm lazy in nature, so I often ended up buying them. When I buy the products, especially highly processed food, I look at the label and go with a short ingredients list as possible. I go through multiple kinds of tea, including sencha, hojicha, yuzu green tea, buckwheat tea, and more. Because I work from home, tea and coffee is my best friend. If you are looking for good quality and different variety of Japanese teas, check out online shop called Yunomi. There's a link in the description box below. Cooking with herbs and spices. I love anything with these, but I'm always intimidated to cook for some reason. Probably my New Year resolution for the next year, using more spices into my cooking. Chocolate and ice cream. I love the combination of raisin ice cream and coffee. What's your snack you just cannot stop eating? Let me know in the comment section below. Yes, we do, of course. We are human. Some people told me you look like a super mom who only makes wholesome Japanese food. But in reality, I am really not. I don't show you much of a realistic side of my life. Don't get me wrong, the food I showed in this video is something I truly enjoy in my real life, but we also take out the delicious American food a couple times a month on the weekend to just unwind ourselves too. My family eats wholesome foods from home-cooked meals for the majority of time, so I admit myself to eat the rest whatever my family wants. Keeping the balance goes a long way. We don't have much of a night market. If you come to Japan, especially Tokyo, there are many restaurants open even after midnight. Not at this moment because of the current situation. We have lots of izakaya restaurants where you can enjoy an assortment of Japanese food with pretty reasonable prices. It's like tapas in Spain. That's kind of like a night market to me. If you are vegan, it's not easy to find a vegan restaurant comparing to Western countries, but in izakaya, there are usually more dishes available for you with any food restriction. To be honest, I hadn't had a chances to go out, especially after 5 p.m. ever since I had kids. So not much recommendation for you guys yet, but it would be nice to introduce a good restaurant in this channel as an extended series of usual recipe videos, maybe in the future. Japanese will treat you nicely for the majority of time, especially if you are staying at the hotel or high-end restaurant. I believe the service is amazing. But we don't speak many foreign languages, including English. With that language boundary, some people are very shy to speak out to you even though they want to help you. We have a good street food, usually in a local shopping street called Shotengai. Yanaka Shotengai, Ameyoko Shotengai, Togoshi Ginza Shotengai are a fun place to visit for the foodies. So most of the Japanese are not frank about talking about their feelings openly. We have a word, kuki o yomu in Japanese, meaning read between the lines. We often require to sense what people are expecting from you without actually saying it. This is what makes Japanese people very polite and well-behaved. It's the beauty of our culture, but sometimes it makes me a little bit cramped since I exposed myself to a foreign culture where I can express myself more freely. Kerama Island, near to the Okinawa main island. It wasn't as crowded as the main island in Okinawa, and the beach was so beautiful. To me, it's New Year. All of my family and relatives get together to eat a special feast called osechi in Japanese. I have a video of my new year in Japan, so let me leave the link for you. I used to live in the US and UK for over 2 years in total. My first experience was in Texas when I was 15 as an exchange student. Back then, I only spoke hello and my name is Miwa. I went to the local high school where I was the only Japanese out of 5,000 students. Even though everyone was so nice, you can imagine how hard that experience was, right? I felt like a baby. I guess for the first 3 months, I didn't speak out almost anything due to the lack of confidence. I just listen and listen using body language and facial expressions over the time. And every day, I look up the new word in the dictionary and write down the new word I heard in school in my journal before I go to bed. Then I intentionally try to implement that new word on the next day before I forget. Just repeat it and repeat the same practice over and over again. Now, here I am using English, communicating with all of you from all over the world. I can't appreciate enough for those who patiently taught me English back then. So I love communicating people as much as cooking. So it was natural for me to start cooking class to my friends when I was in UK back in 2018. I didn't charge the fee that moment, so it was like just cooking together with close friends from different countries. Even after I came back to Japan, I couldn't forget the joy of communicating through cooking, so I decided to open up my small business, which is a Miwa Japanese cooking class, plus working at the cooking studio in Tokyo as a freelancer. I was doing it over 1.5 years and luckily starting to get more customers. Then the COVID hit. Many of my customers are travelers, so I could not continue my cooking class anymore. And back then, I had 2 choices, either going back to the corporate job or restarting completely different things related to cooking. I chose the latter since my kids were still small, plus homeschooling. It was almost impossible for me to find a new corporate job. Then I launched my YouTube channel back in March 2020 thanks to the suggestion of my best friend in Singapore. I filmed while kids were napping, edit the video before kids wake up. I had no experience in filming or editing, so my first 20 videos are very low quality. I even deleted and refilmed it. I've never seen myself as a working mom. If you're a freelancer, it's hard to define yourself even though you commit as a full-time career for making content and developing recipes for channel and website until you finally make a living by that. So I would say I'm a housewife plus a little bit of working mom with a big passion. My husband was a little bit skeptical at first, but as I continue doing it, now he is my #1 supporter. I'm so bad at anything related to tech, like developing a web, so he did it all for me. The website is our masterpiece, and we are so excited to develop more contents to support your cooking life. My kids just see me as a mom who is crazy about taking good photos and videos of food. They probably don't know I'm a YouTuber. So it was such a difficult time for us, just like you guys, I guess. We are very prepared for having a natural disaster since we often have an earthquake, but this time it has been different because of the uncertainty of situation. How long we have to stay at home, or what if all the toilet paper is gone? How I can explain to kids without having them too stressed out? If I was living by myself, it was probably much harder to calm myself. Of course, it's physically harder to be stay-at-home mom and work at the same time, but kids are always very optimistic in a good way. They have a nature to enjoy every single moment, unlike adults, which makes me realize I should not be worried about too much for the future if the things are out of control anyway. Instead, I started to focus more on small things I can appreciate. For example, before the COVID, my husband usually come back after the midnight, so kids barely met him on the weekdays. But now, since he's working from home, we can have a dinner together. We spend more time together. That helped me a lot from feeling a little lonely to being a family as a whole. I know the situation are still very severe, but I hope we can get it over together. Sending lots of love from Japan. This question really spoke to me. For the first month after the baby arrived, I went back to my parents. I could just replenish myself and taking care of my baby for that period after I back to my place. It took me a while to figure out the balance between how to organize my life properly and neatly versus how lazy I could be and how not to feel guilty about it. My mom was a super mom who made everything from scratch. We have 4 siblings and she saw every single school item like school bags by herself for all of us. My dad was running his company, so my mom took care of all the housework. I grew up seeing her and eventually set my standard norm way too higher than my capability. So when I become parent, I felt like baby food has to be homemade. I need to eat healthy food for breastfeeding. The list goes on. After a couple months, as you can imagine, I was completely off the wagon. Then I started to think of my life balance and priority. To me, eating healthy is still top of my priority since it does affect my mental health. When I'm happy, my kids are very mentally stable too. Kids are a mirror of myself. Then the next step I took was starting to make more meal prep on the weekend, since weekends was the only time I can dedicate myself to cooking while my husband is looking after kids. It might sound strange to you, but to me, cooking is me time. Chopping all the veggies while listening to the music or podcast was kinda like really stress reliever for me. However, this is only my case. If you are eating wholesome because everyone else is doing, that's not probably what you want. Specify your priority, and if eating wholesome food doesn't come to your top priority, I would rather choose cooking less and lean on any housekeeping service to make yourself and family happy. For my case, I didn't have the option to hire service since it's very expensive in Japan. If I can speak to my younger self, just relax and ask for help and don't feel guilty to be lazy and rest yourself. There are so many other questions I would like to answer. I apologize if your question is not covered in this video. I promise to keep answering in the future. And thanks again for all the comments, like, and support. It means so much. I'm always hoping you will be healthy and happy. All my video is about anyway. Thank you very much for watching and talk to you soon. Bye bye, またね。